With Hashem's loving grace, we're here to share some sweet memories of Rabbi Zecharia HaCohen Wallerstein, who left this physical world a year ago in the beginning of Iyar 5782. And Rabbi Zecharia is buried here in the land of Israel, outside of Beit Shemesh. And I had the privilege last year of eulogizing him. And after eulogizing him, a young woman came up to me, and a distinguished young woman, and she had a baby in her arms and another toddler in a stroller. And see this woman on the street, you think maybe her father is the head rabbi of a city or her husband is some Rosh Yeshiva, very distinguished young lady. And she told me, she says, Rabbi Laser, I'm one of Rabbi Zecharia's girls. I said, what? I don't remember if she said she learned in Ateres Nava or Benos Chaya, but one of Rabbi Zecharia's girls' schools. And she then revealed another amazing fact. She says, I'm one of the girls that Rabbi Zecharia picked up from behind the 7-Eleven. So behind the 7-Eleven, this is in the 7-Eleven in Brooklyn, that the girls would hang out and they'd smoke cigarettes and smoke things worse and do all types of other things. And Rabbi Zecharia would pick up these girls and clean them up spiritually and physically, bring them into school, bring them back to Hashem, to Yiddishkeit. And they turned out to be young Rebbitzins like this one I taught. Now, who knows? Maybe this young Rebbitzin that I met at the funeral, one of her children is going to be the head of the next generation, or Rosh Yeshiva, or one of her daughter be the wife of Rosh Yeshiva, or the spiritual leaders. Who knows? And it reminded me of so many times in Jewish history when the whole future of the Jewish people and the whole future of Torah relied on one woman. We all know the story of Esther and Purim, and the story that the Nes, the miracle of Hanukkah, is who triggered the miracle. The Maccabees, about the Yehudit Maccabi, she triggered the miracle. But then there's another situation that the Gemara tells about that people know about less. I'll give you a little background. It was a time where Yanai was king. Now, Yanai was a Cohen. He was from the Hashmonai family. And the Hashmonai family were meant to be Cohen Gul, the high priest, but the monarchy was not supposed to be them. The monarchy really belonged to the tribe of Judah. But then the Hashmonaim, they were a little bit power hungry. This is later, we're talking about maybe 80 to 100 years after the miracle of Hanukkah. And they wanted the monarchy too. So Yanai was king. But the Torah scholars, the Perushim, they told Yanai that the early Tanaim, they said, you can't be king. You could be high priest, but you can't be king. And he didn't like that. So he went and he killed all the Tanaim. He killed all the Perushim. And there was one left named Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach. And it turned out Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach, he was the only Tana left. And he was the only one that had the Masorah that goes all the way back to Hillel. His sister was Shlom Tzion. Shlom Tzion was queen. Shlom Tzion was Yanai's wife. And Shlom Tzion did all types of things behind the scenes to hide her brother, to keep him alive, to prevent her husband from killing him. And by doing so, because he wanted to kill his brother-in-law also, because his brother-in-law also opposed the fact that he should be king. But very quietly and behind the scenes, Shlom Tzion not only saved her brother, Shimon ben Shattach, who was able to take the Torah and to pass it down to future Tanoim, future generations, but she saved Torah. She saved Torah learning. She saved her brother. And this was the future of Am Yisrael. Because if Shimon ben Shattach would have been killed, then the Sadukim would have overcome the Perushim, and Am Yisrael would have gone completely away from the oral Torah. And what she did, Shlom Tzion really saved Torah. Then there's another situation. Shlom Tzion is not the only one. Not the only one. There was the daughter of a rich man in Jerusalem, Rachel, and her father's name was Kalba Savoa. Kalba Savoa is one of the three richest men in Jerusalem. And he had a migrant worker, a poor migrant worker who was a son of converts. And this migrant worker was named Akiva. Well, Rachel saw Akiva's good traits. And she said, if you learn Torah, I'll agree to marry you. Okay, so he agreed to learn Torah. And when Kalba Tzvoat heard that his daughter married this poor migrant worker, he disowned her, sent her away. So she suffered dire poverty, and old-time Rabbi Akiva learned Torah. So to make a long story short, Rabbi Akiva became the great of the generation. Not only great of the generation, the whole structure of the oral Torah we owe to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, he codified the Mishnah. He built the 6 orders of the Mishnah. And then his student, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, perfected the language. And Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes' student, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he made the final codification of the Mishnah. But all of Torah Baal Peh, the structure of Torah Baal Peh, goes back to Rabbi Akiva. Were it not for Rachel, saying the good traits of Akiva, this migrant worker, we wouldn't have had Rabbi Akiva. We wouldn't have the Mishnah Torah Baal Peh. So we see it all depended on her. And this reminds me, Rabbi Zecharia, what he did. He looked at every single girl as if the entire generation, the entire future of Jewish history depends on getting that young girl back into Torah, getting that young girl back in the Yiddishkeit, getting that girl back on the road. Now, there's another story, a very poignant story in Gemara Tractate Nedorim, 61a. And the story is about Elisha Kohen Gadol. Elisha Kohen Gadol, maybe you remember him from the Gemara in Brachos, in the beginning of Gemara Brachos, when this famous song, Amar Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, Pam echad nechnasti lifnai ulifnim latir k'toyres. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, he was the holy Kohen Gadol, he was the high priest, and he gave incense offering, and when he gave incense offering, Hashem revealed himself, Hashem voice, and he said, Yishmoel, bless me. And Shmuel says, okay, that's the song. We say, Yishmoel b'ni, 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 b'alcheini. So Rabbi Shmuel, he asked Rabbi Shmuel for bracha. Hashem asked Rabbi Shmuel, the high priest, for a bracha. So he says, Yehi rotzon milfonecha. That's the words right out of the Gemara. Hashem, that your mercy should overcome your measure of stern judgment. Okay, that's Rabbi Shmuel. So the same Rabbi Shmuel, the holy Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, the holy Rabbi Shmuel, that Hashem reveals himself, lifnai lifnim, in the Holy of Holies, on Yom Kippur, and we see Rabbi Shmuel was also a posek. Rabbi Shmuel also had the Torah. There was a young man whose family wanted him to marry his niece. And the young man swore he's never going to marry that niece. And he said, why not? She's ugly. I'm not going to marry that girl. So they came, and the mother of the girl, she came. She wanted her brother to marry her daughter, and her brother refused to marry his niece. And she brought the daughter to Rabbi Shmuel. And Rabbi Shmuel looked at her, and they said, Rabbi, what can you do? So Rabbi Shmuel said, let her stay by my house for a while. Rabbi Shmuel had his family, his wife and the daughter, bathe her, and they bought her new clothes. Not only did they buy her new clothes, they took care of her dental work. She had a missing tooth, and they put a replacing tooth, and they did her hair, they did everything, and she ate properly, because it was this time in the Roman occupation, and there was so much poverty, and the girl was very thin. Well, the girl trimmed out, she became healthy, her skin became much healthier, she looked good, she had a nice smile, and then they brought the boy back, but the Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, he wanted to open the vow, wanted to null and void the vow, and he said to the young man, he said they could call the young girl, call his niece. He didn't know it was niece. He says, would you vow not to marry that girl? He says, Rebbe, what are you talking about? She's gorgeous. I'd never vow, of course. He said, if you knew that was the girl that you vowed not to marry, would you cancel? Of course I'd cancel. So what he did, he declared that the vow null and void. They married the girl. When Rabbi Shmuel died, all of the daughters of Israel, they eulogized him. They sang a song about him, Rabbi Shmuel, about that. He knows that Bnot Yisrael, he said that the girls of Israel, the girls, the Jewish people, the Jewish girls, they're gorgeous, but poverty uglifies them. Poverty makes them ugly. Oh, it's alive today. What's the poverty today? Poverty today is not the physical poverty, but the spiritual poverty. When a girl gets caught up in drugs, when a girl gets caught up in social media, even to the point I remember once Rabbi Zecharia told me that 20% of Jewish girls, 20% of Orthodox Jewish girls, that they text on Shabbat. They close themselves in their rooms and they text me. They send text messages. I couldn't believe it. He said, yeah. I said, this is a big problem. So we see, this is the spiritual poverty that makes their neshamas ugly. The neshamas are beautiful, but the spiritual poverty makes their neshamas. And just like Yishmael Kohen Gadol, he made their neshamas beautiful, and he brought them out of physical poverty. You know, Rabbi Zecharia Wallerstein was a Kohen too. Rabbi Zecharia HaCohen Wallerstein. So Rabbi Zecharia, who knows if he didn't go around, if he didn't have the neshama, if he was not a reincarnation of Yishmael ben Elisha, Yishmael Kohen Gadol. And you know, I think very well, and I start the more I think about it, and preparing today's shur, I think that could very well have been because he saved girls' neshamas. He made their neshamas beautiful. That is the young lady. That's the connection between the fact that all of Jewish future depends on one girl, and the fact of Rabbi Yishmael that he made them beautiful. That's connecting the story with this young lady I met in Beit Shemesh, and this Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Zecharia, when he took her from behind the 7-Eleven and made her beautiful, and now she's a young Rebbitzin with 6 beautiful children. Hashem help her have many more. And who knows? Who knows? And one of her children could be the great of the next generation. And this would not have happened without the intervention of who I think was a Kohen Gadol of this generation, hidden Kohen Gadol, Zecharia HaCohen Wallerstein. So every neshama, it's like we light candles for the neshama. King Solomon said, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, that the candle of Hashem is a human soul. And Rabbi Zecharia lit so many candles for Hashem. So now let's light a candle for Rabbi Zecharia Shimon HaKohen Wallerstein and cherish his memory always. God bless, and let's do what he did. Continue bringing people closer to Hashem, closer to Yiddishkeit, and may everyone be successful. God bless.